What's up guys, Rick Pete back with a new video for you, and as the title suggests, this is my review of TNA's Lockdown 2016 pay-per-view. I watched the pay-per-view last night on the Channel Challenge over here in the UK. I believe the original pay-per-view was taped sometime at the back end of January, and I believe it originally aired about 5 or 6 days ago now. Like I said, I watched it last night. The pay-per-view was actually filmed over here in the UK, which is nice. I wish I'd have known in advance. I might have tried to get myself there. It would have been a good night out. So without further ado, here is my rundown of the event. And if you haven't seen the event, don't watch the rest of this video as there will be spoilers. If you have watched it, then obviously you know the results. So without further ado, I'll crack on. I might not necessarily get the matches in the right order as it finished quite late over here and I had an early morning this morning, and as I've mentioned in previous videos, my memory is shocking. But the opening match was Beer Money, James Storm and Bobby Roode. As you can see, I've got the old school Beer Money t-shirt on there. And they were facing Bram and EY. Obviously, with it being the Lockdown pay-per-view, all the matches were set in the cage-style environment. And this was a 6 sides of steel cage match. Started off brawling outside. The door got locked while James Storm was outside after Bram had hit him with, I can't remember the name of the move now, I apologise. But yeah, Storm was locked out and Bram and EY pretty much teamed up on Bobby Roode. Storm managed to get himself back in, got back involved, great back and forth, some great action. Beer Money came out with a result after the DWI, and yeah, I really enjoyed that match. It could have been a bit longer. I think it was just short of 10 minutes long, which for an opening match is good, but you know, when you've got Beer Money involved, you know the fans want to see a bit more. But it was a good match, but you know, me personally, I would like to see it going a bit longer, but you know, you can't have everything. There was the X Division title was on the line, again in a 6 sides of steel. That was Trevor Lee defending against Tigre Uno. Another good match, plenty of back and forth between the guys. It did look at one point like Tigre Uno was going to win, but Trevor Lee retained with a nice finishing move. I'm not going to say too much. Those of you who've seen it, you know, obviously know how it all ended, and those of you who've decided to watch this video anyway, regardless of the spoilers, it's well worth checking out. Good match, like I said, but yeah, Trevor Lee victorious and retained his title. Then there was the Dollhouse, which is Jade, Marty Bell and Rebel, and they were up against, originally it was billed as Gail Kim, Velvet Sky and Madison Rain. Now, I was a bit dubious about this match, and so I decided to go to the toilet before this match started, as I figured I'm not going to miss much. So I don't quite know how it ended up that Madison Rain wasn't involved. I do apologise. All I know is that when I came down, Gail Kim was talking to Maria Kanellis about the possibility of her teaming up with them, you know, to go up against the Dollhouse. And then obviously the match started. And it started off in the old traditional lethal lockdown. A member from each team comes out, and I believe it was Jade and Gail Kim that started, and then I believe Marty Bell came down for the Dollhouse, and then obviously Velvet Sky came down, and then I think Rebel was the last one to come down for the Dollhouse. Maria Kanellis did come down. She got as far as the cage door and then turned her back on Velvet Sky and Gail Kim. Obviously that gave the numbers game to the Dollhouse, although it did look briefly like Gail Kim and Velvet Sky were going to pull off a bit of a shock victory. Fortunately it wasn't to be. The Dollhouse won after Jade, I believe it was Jade, pinned Gail Kim. It was a good match. So I wasn't expecting much, but I was quite entertained with this. The fact that they had weapons in the ring was different, given the fact that WWE is very, very unlikely to ever let their divas really go at it, you know, the modern day with weapons. So it was a bit of a split thing, you know, to see women hitting each other with kendo sticks. It's like, you know, equal rights and all that, but is there some sort of moral thing that says women should not be wailing on each other with a kendo stick? I don't know, but it was a good match nonetheless. There was Odag the Great, which is Grado. Obviously, as I say, if you've seen it, you'll know. Basically, it's Grado under a mask. He was up against Eli Drake, who had Jesse Goddard in his corner. Jesse Goddard, I don't really see the point of him being there anymore. He just seems to get thrown with random people. It made sense in the bromance, but since then, he's not really done much, and he ain't really up to much, never has been. So, I don't see why they keep him around. But, that's TNA's thing. Decent match. Plenty of comedy moments from Odag the Great, as you would expect if you've seen Grado's work. Odag the Great got the win. He escaped the cage, he was over the top. Eli grabbed the mask, and the mask came off, and he dropped to the floor, revealing shock, horror, gasping. Nobody saw it coming that Odag is actually Grado. And then after a couple of minutes of celebrating, realised that he needed to cover his face, so put a towel over his head and ran off to the back. There were a few backstage segments which were quite good. There was a couple involving Jimmy Jacobs and Decay. And the second one culminated in Abyss flooring Jimmy Jacobs, and then I can't remember the name, I apologise, dropping Jimmy Jacobs' mask onto the floor next to him. There was a good segment backstage with EC3 and Kurt Angle. EC3 did have a bit at the beginning of the event when he came out to the ring, and he sat on the steps and basically just sort of apologised for his actions in the past. Called Rockstar Spud out, wanted to shake his hand, for all the troubles behind him. They shook hands. Spud told EC3 that basically he only came out to save him the other week because it was the right thing to do. So that left that at that. So the rest of the event unfolded. There were some more backstage segments that came obviously to the main event. Matt Hardy defending against EC3. Came out one-on-one, started off great. Tyrus was outside. He threw a couple of chairs into Matt Hardy, but it didn't really seem to interfere much. It was quite good. And then after EC3 had decked Hardy, he went to the cage door to get out, and Tyrus came up and stood in his way. Which point, EC3 invited Tyrus to get in the ring. Tyrus went in. They had a bit of a scuffle. Tyrus tried to chain EC3 to the top rope. EC3 pulled the old switcheroonie on him, and Tyrus ended up chaining himself to the top rope. EC3 then let loose with a steel chair, which pretty much took Tyrus out for the rest of the match. Matt Hardy twist of fate. EC3 kicked out. Matt Hardy then hit EC3 with a move that he'd used on him a few weeks before, which had put EC3 out of action. EC3 again kicked out, although he was coughing up blood. Basically, obviously swallowed a blood capsule or whatever. And just when it looked like things were going to go EC3 way, Rebby Sky, Matt Hardy's wife, come running down with a hammer in her hand. She was closely followed by Rockstar Spud, who took the hammer off her and threw it away and said, "No, this is not happening. It's going to be one-on-one." Again, you thought things were going to go EC3's way. That wasn't to be. There was a big twist at the end. As EC3 was crawling towards the cage door, Rockstar Spud slammed the door in his face, giving himself a heel turn, which I didn't expect. I had my eldest stepson, who's not really a wrestling fan. He was in the room while I was watching it. He was dipping in and out of it. And even he said that what Rockstar Spud had done was a bit of a dick move. So yeah, I didn't see that coming. Then obviously once EC3 was out of action, Rockstar Spud went up, opened the door, and lined himself with Matt Hardy. They walked off up the ramp victorious and left EC3 in a pool of blood, and they also left Tyrus behind as well. Doubt that'll come to anything in the storylines, but it was in the ring, in the cage still. With EC3, EC3 had a bit of a moment where he was just shocked, and the rest of the fans there just turned on Spud. You sorted out, chance started raining down, and that was it. That was the main event, over and done with. It was a good match. That one went, I think, just over 10 minutes, which to me, I think WWE seemed to make their main event matches go anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. I think that's what it should be. But given the fact that they went just over 10 minutes, there was plenty of back and forth, plenty of action, enough to keep you entertained. I'm not going to jump on the EC3 bandwagon just because he's a face now, but I must admit last night he was really good playing the face. Then when I started to think about his work before as a heel, I realised that he's a really good heel too. So it's pretty much that EC3 can do either. Obviously we know Matt Hardy can do face or heel, as he's done both for a long time in his career. So it'd be interesting to see where this feud leads, whether there's some sort of big blow-off match to come, or I don't know. But yeah, a good event. Glad I watched it. I probably would buy the DVD of it. And say it's the first pay-per-view that TNA have done for a long time that I've watched. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a decent card from start to finish. So anybody who's watched this video but hasn't actually watched the event, I'd recommend you check it out. It's well worth a watch. Even if you're not a massive TNA fan, I went into it with an open mind. I'm more of a WWE fan, but I went into it thinking, what have I got to lose? It's, an hour or so of wrestling. It's a win-win situation, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So yeah, that'll just about wrap up this video. So for now, guys, this is me saying goodbye, and I'll catch you later.